Okay. All right, everyone. Welcome to the Spiritual Events Directory Indie Author Interview Series. And today I am welcoming my guest, Kate Gale, who has written a beautiful book. And she's going to share her journey, her writing journey, and the crazy journey that it is of publishing. Like, why would we do that? uh, so welcome, Kate Gale. How are you?
Hi, thank you. Thanks for having me, Pip.
So we are already acquainted because we are fellow authors with Ocean Reef Publishing. And so we know each other, which is cool. And we've had similar experience because we've published a book. So that's great. So I guess we should start at the beginning with what's your story? Why did you decide to write this book?
Okay, so it all started when my husband got diagnosed with renal cancer. Mm-hmm. So being a breast cancer survivor myself, I kept a diary when I was going through my journey. And when he got diagnosed, it was just a really big eye-opener for me to show me that there was more to the cancer world than just breast cancer, and that I am a bit special in a way that I have seen both sides of a cancer journey. So not only as a patient and having to deal with how I felt and how I was dealing with things at the time, but then thrust into my husband having to do that and being the carer. So I figured I had a pretty awesome story that I could share with everybody. So I wrote.
I think that's fantastic. I mean, that is very unique, I would say. Most people might have an experience of someone in their family having cancer. In fact, I think a lot of people could say that they've had someone in their close family who has had cancer, and perhaps themselves, but not necessarily, partners like this. So how was that journey for you in terms of your journey, and how is it different to the journey with your husband?
So my journey, I suppose, I was in survival mode. It was, I had babies at the time, so I didn't have a choice to stop. I just had to keep going. And I suppose I didn't take time to grieve. I suppose that's a funny way to put it, but I lost a breast. I, lost my hair. I lost so much during my journey that it was all about me. And not that I'm a self-absorbed person, but when I think back now, it was all about me.
Right.
So I felt like I was a burden to everybody, and I had to rely on everybody to do things that I couldn't do at that time. So when Bob got diagnosed, it was panic stations because, not only did we have to emotionally ride that roller coaster again, but it was financially and our friends and family and how are they going to react. And I tended to take all that on for Bob. So I took it on for myself and I took it on for Bob. Yeah. But whilst taking it on for Bob, I realised that there was more to life. There was a better way to deal with this, and I needed to heal myself before I could help him. And it made me realise that I hadn't healed from my journey, so I had to find myself to help him. Yeah,
that's amazing. I mean, because you went through that healing of the first of your breast cancer, and you had a journey of healing that involved, the mental, emotional, physical healing. And then, as you say, it sort of took it to another level, a whole nother level. To have then your husband and, going through not the exact same cancer, but still the same journey of, and all those fears coming up again, I presume, around mortality and what does it mean and what's our life all about. And, so how did you deal with it in the first instance compared to the second instance in terms of your healing?
Like I said with mine, it was just, I took day by day, and I just had to roll with it. Like whatever they told me I had to do, I did. And I thought I was smashing goals. I thought I was doing really well. And then I got to the end of my treatment and my oncologist said to me, now, Kate, go out there into the big wide world and enjoy your life. Enjoy yourself. And I sort of went, wow, hang on. You've been my safety net for so long and now you're just letting me go. It was really scary. And at that point, I got introduced to anxiety in a big way.
Scary to be well.
Yeah. Well, it was, I had to take day by day as it came again, but then I had the anxiety on top of that. And it wasn't until Bob's diagnosis that that made me really realise that I wasn't okay and I did need to do something about, like I said, healing me first before I could help him. But throughout both journeys, I wrote. I kept that diary and I just, if I had a bad day, I wrote down I had a bad day, in more, more words.
It's so important to honour those emotions. So what were you anxious about? Were you anxious about getting sick again, or were you anxious about what would you do as a person who wasn't sick?
I think there was a bit of both. I think there was a bit of both. That is a fantastic question. Yes, I'm always going to have that in the back of my mind that it's going to rear its ugly head again. And there is something in me that says, but you've done it once, you've done it twice with Bob, you can do it again if it did come around. But hearing the words that you have cancer, it changes you in a split second. Hearing Bob had cancer, that was just, and I always said, but sorry, I'm getting emotional. I always said, I don't know how I would deal with hearing those words again. And then when it's your husband or your partner or, someone so close to you, I literally felt like somebody had ripped my heart out and chewed it up into a million pieces. So funnily enough, though, like I keep saying, once we got to that point, it was just the anxiety. I still had to work on it, but it wasn't as bad as what I had dealt with from my journey. But I hadn't dealt with my journey before then. It was just, I had breast cancer. I'm better now. Let's move on. But it's not that easy. You just don't leave it at the back door like that.
Like you say, it changed you in a fundamental way to have that happen. All those questions of why am I here, and what's this all about, and all those those real proper questions about our life that they come up when you have a big issue like that, a big illness like that.
Yeah. We all say to ourselves, one day we're going to die, but you actually never sit there and really think about, well, hang on a minute, this could actually happen really soon.
Yeah. And so did you and Bob get closer as a result of him getting cancer as well? Like, obviously he had to go through the journey with you having cancer. What was the result of him seeing the other side of the story?
Yeah, it made me realise what he had been through. And I did have somebody say to me at the start of my journey was, don't forget about Bob, because he's riding this with you. And I always had that in the back of my mind, but I suppose it didn't really become clear until he was diagnosed. And then I went, wow, like he had no hold, no way of helping me apart from being there. And then I was put into that same position, and it's an awful position to be in.
It's such a feeling of powerlessness, isn't it, as the person who's as a family member, to not be able to do anything about it, it's because each individual person has to go through that healing journey themselves. And so as part of your writing, did you find that you had some insights into what could help someone who's a going through cancer and someone who is helping someone go through cancer, or going, traveling that journey. Did you write those sorts of things down?
I did in a way, but I like to look at it as it's not a how-to book, how to get through cancer. It was how we did it.
Right.
So it's how we, or how, predominantly how I saw things unfold. For instance, there was a night that I was in hospital. I was feeling sorry for myself. I was having an emotional night, and Bob told me to snap out of it. And I just wanted to, wring his neck right there and then. And he sat by my bed all night until I cried myself to sleep. And then when he was going through it and he was having his emotional, oh my goodness, why me day, that night came back to me and I just said, mate, snap out of it. Like, stop feeling sorry for yourself. This is the position that we're in and we have to deal with it. So, come on. Just things like that, that it can go both ways. And I suppose when I was going through, my breast cancer, it was all about me, and I didn't, well, it's not that I didn't think of other people, but I was taking care of me. I was just trying to get through the best that I could. So, seeing the other side of it and knowing how I dealt with it and how I could have dealt with it better. That's what I put into my new book. That's things I found along the way. I like to call them curveballs, and those curveballs I turn into lessons.
Cool. That's awesome. I love it. So was the does the book, because it's obviously not out yet, so I haven't read it yet, but does the book have any sort of reflections from Bob's perspective? Does he kind of, have anything to say in the book, or is it all your reflections? Does he get a say?
No, he doesn't.
No, he doesn't.
It's all my writing.
Okay.
It's all from my perspective and what I see looking in.
Yep, that's cool.
That's actually never been brought up to me before, Piff, and that's actually a really good idea.
I was just curious because somebody suggested that for my book, that for my second edition, that I should have a rebuttal section where I've told a story about someone and they should be allowed to then say what their version of the story is.
That's a great idea.
So maybe you could do that for your next second edition.
Oh, goodness.
I know, you haven't even finished it.
No, let's get this one out first.
One thing at a time.
Yes, that's right. One day at a time.
That's right, exactly. So so we've got something that we're going to give away for people who would like to follow your journey. We're going to keep talking, but I want to mention it now before we finish the conversation. But if people go to subscribe to your website so that they can hear the journey and see the blogs that you're writing and watch what you're doing and know when your book is actually going to be launched, what do they get if they go and subscribe to your website?
Right. So once you subscribe, you will get a welcome email, and attached to that welcome email is a little sneak peek of the start of the book. So you get a little taste of what it's all about.
So I've got a little picture, but I'm not going to tell you what she's given away. So if you go to the kategaleauthor.com and sign up for Kate's newsletter, then you'll actually get the updates first updates will go out in that newsletter so that you can know when the book's coming out and any other special offers that are happening in the process of pre-sale and all that sort of thing, so that you can pre-order the book as well, which is exciting. So are you allowed to say what the name of the book is yet?
I can. So it is Thanks for the Mammories.
Which is great because it's all about breast cancer, and so I think that's a fabulous title. Thanks for the Mammories. I love it. And we're looking at when exactly is the book going to be launched, do you think?
So we're looking at early November launch.
All things going well. We're looking at
all things going well.
Really cool. So between now and then, obviously, there's just going to be some final tweaking of the format and the cover, you've got the cover organised?
The cover is all sorted. So, that will be revealed in pre-sale. So, hopefully we're not too far off and we can get moving.
That's cool. That's great. And it's so exciting getting to this pointy end, as they say, of the process. How have you found the actual process of writing the book in terms of you've written before, you've obviously, you have gone through the process of publishing, but not in this scenario, with this scenario. How would you describe the process of getting a book published for those people who've never done it?
So I find writing the book very cathartic and very, it's helped me heal. Like both times it's helped me heal. The process of publishing I find exciting and equally nerve-wracking, and it's quite an emotional roller coaster of you want to tell your story. I know I've got a good story to tell, but then there's the self-doubt that creeps in but everybody along the line have been incredibly good, and I've actually enjoyed it. It has been fun. But like you said, we get to the pointy end and it's all systems go.
Yes, all the marketing and the process behind the scenes, people see a book being launched and they go, oh, yes, there's a book being launched. But there's just hundreds of things that have to happen for that book to be launched. And it blows your mind, when you find out what all those hundreds of things are.
Yes.
and that I can totally associate with that whole cathartic thing of the actual writing itself is very cathartic, because you go through it and then you edit it and then you go through it again and then you read it out loud and then you go through it again and you your story back to front, but you still, every time you read it, every time you edit it, something in you shifts. Would you say that you sort of, move to the next level of healing by actually going through the process of writing and publishing?
100%. That's a really good way of putting it. Yeah. There's a shift every time that you read it, and you just, it's going to, I want it to make a difference in people's lives. And,
So who do you think would really benefit from reading the book, in terms of the people who are buying the book in the end?
Yeah. So anybody, any cancer patient is going to take something away from it, whether or not you're a cancer patient, a carer for a cancer patient, somebody that you know is going through cancer. Just there's a few, like I said, the curveballs and the lessons. It just makes you stop and think about little things that you don't stop and think about every day. It's just a bigger picture. So I think anybody that reads it, it's going to resonate in some way, shape or form with them. But definitely cancer patients, I think, will help.
Yeah. So can you give us an example of a curveball that kind of gave you a bit of an aha moment?
I've actually written those exact words, an aha moment.
The old Oprah aha moment.
Oh, yeah. I have a chapter in there, it's called Judgment, and it's about what people see looking in, and you don't actually think about what how people perceive you going through a cancer diagnosis, and certain things like what people say to you, and to a cancer patient you might want to punch that person in the face after they've said it, but they don't mean it to come out like that. It's just a really it's a subject that lots of people don't like to talk about, what they don't like to broach. They don't know how to say things, so what comes out of their mouths is a bit silly sometimes. So I suppose my aha moment was a lady who called me some names in public because I had my daughter with me and I was bald, wearing a hat, and she was saying things about my sexuality, and how I shouldn't be in public with my daughter because that's just rubbing it in people's noses, implying that I was gay because I had a short haircut.
Okay.
And that moment was, wow, you've just judged me and you have no idea what I'm going through.
Yeah, made up a whole story.
Yeah.
Out of nothing,
Absolutely.
Wow.
But it was because, I had no hair, with a hat on, and she just decided to verbalize what she thought. So that was a real moment of, wow, people really have no idea how to broach the subject. And that's one of my biggest things. I want people to be able to talk about cancer because it doesn't have to be a taboo subject.
Yeah, openly, honestly, have a conversation about it.
And ask questions. Like I don't mind when people come up to me and ask, when I had a mastectomy and I had one breast, but people would look at me and go, hang on, you look like you've got two. So explaining to them how that works with prosthetic breasts and things like that. I just want people to ask those questions and not come to your own conclusions. However weird they may be.
Yeah, exactly. And if you haven't been through it and if you haven't had a direct experience with somebody, then you would have assumptions. You would have lots of assumptions and, perhaps misconceptions about what is involved and how it all works. And then there's the difference between men and women, like when they lose their hair, for example, when they're having the chemo and the treatment. Losing your hair, as a guy, you can be bald and people go, that's a bald man. Do you know what I mean? And it doesn't matter how old you are. If you're bald, they just go, oh, yeah, that guy's just shaved his hair. But as a woman, there's some sort of different connotation that's put on us as women to look a particular way. And, and hair is so, like, I'm so, if I didn't have my hair, like, I don't know, it's a thing. It's
a thing that defines us.
It is. It really is. Yeah. Like my sister did the the world's greatest shave for leukemia. She did that 1 year and actually shaved her quite long hair off, and I cried. And she was the one getting her hair cut off, and I was crying. And she's like, why are you so upset? I'm like, I don't know, but it's really upsetting me. And I just thought, imagine if it was my hair. Like, it really pushed my buttons that she was doing this. And did you have those sorts of experiences when you were comparing the two journeys?
Yeah. I had the whole shebang. I had the surgeries, I had the chemo, I had the radiation, I had intravenous drugs for 12 months.
Yeah.
I had the works. Anything that you think of cancer, it got thrown in my direction.
Yeah.
When Bob got diagnosed, he actually went to hospital thinking he had kidney stones, and then they actually found, kidney cancer. Right. And he had his kidney removed. He had the surgery. He didn't have to have chemo, and he didn't have to have radiation. So that was another thing that I had to deal with. Of essentially, I was jealous of my husband, and I had no right to be. He was, I should have been really grateful that he didn't have to go through all that and lose his hair and go through the weight gain and all that sort of thing. But at the same time, I had that little bit of a hate-love relationship. I love you dearly, Bob, but I hate you that you didn't have to go through that. Yeah, there was that jealousy side of things.
Sure. And that's a chapter in itself, I'm sure, like, feeling jealous and then feeling guilty for feeling those emotions about your partner, Yeah.
Guilt's a massive part of cancer.
Yeah.
And in all different shapes and forms. It's like, did I do something that I got cancer in the first place? Did I do this to myself? What can I do? Putting everybody else through it. My friends pass away. Why have they passed away? Why am I still here?
Yep.
Guilt's a massive thing to deal with.
Huge. It's huge, and it's such a big conversation to have. Just that alone is a conversation, and then each of the different topics that you're bringing up, they're all very important conversations to have. And I presume going forward that you'll be, you know, when we're allowed to go out and do presentations and things like that, that it'd be great if you could do it in November to actually do some live talks and things like that. I mean, you've done the live presentation thing before with your previous project, but this one obviously could be different. It might be an online launch, maybe.
Yeah, I'm crossing fingers that we can launch in person. I said, but you know, if we have to do it online, that's absolutely a-okay too. But I really would love in the future to go back out there and not only share my story, but touch a few people in a way of, it's not just my cancer journey and Bob's cancer journey. It's about opening my eyes to life and, you know, how I've taken something pretty crap that's been thrown in our direction and we've turned it into something amazing.
Yeah.
That, you know, we can move forward in life and stop and smell the roses and enjoy just the little things. But
definitely, because
see
both
things
of you,
from a different point.
Yeah, and both of you have obviously come through. I mean, you know, we're talking about this and you're still talking about him as, you know, he's obviously here and you've both come through and survived that journey and thrived after that journey. So that's fantastic. And is he thinking about writing something? Is he going to write? No.
If he wrote, it would be something like the size of a children's book. Very long.
Like, I had cancer. The end.
Yeah. But in saying that, he's actually a very good public speaker as well.
Yeah.
He doesn't like to put himself out there. However, Bob and our girls are both. They're all sorry. They're all very supportive of what Mum does.
Yeah.
And both the girls are actually really good public speakers, and they've done a little bit of public speaking themselves around the cancer thing. And Brianna, actually, our eldest daughter, she hit a pretty rough patch last year with anxiety and has had to deal with quite a bit in the last 18 months, which it all stemmed back to me being sick. But again, she's taken it with both hands and run with it, and she's actually spoken out from you know, a teenager's point of view of dealing with anxiety and bringing a bit of light to you know, children, adolescents, mental health as well. So something we'll be super proud of her for.
Yeah, that's really cool. And you know, all of us, I think, you know, when we're on these journeys, it's so important to have you know, those opportunities to speak our truth, and that's fantastic. And it's, you know, each of those people in the family are going to be learning different lessons and moving through and you know, getting insights and wisdom. So it's not just one person going through that process, it's everybody involved. Yeah. And how did the family cope with you deciding that you were going to write a second book? Were they excited about that?
Yeah, the girls have been really excited. Bob just sort of shook his head and went, "Oh, I knew you were going to do this again." And just the other night, you know yourself as a writer, you have moments of, "Oh, wow, I've got to write that down. That's a really great chapter," or "That's something that I need to write about." And we're sitting there eating dinner, and he just put a fork full of food in his mouth, and I went, "I reckon I've got book 3 in me." And he nearly spat his food everywhere. He said, "Really?" I went, "Okay, we might think about it for a little while." But yeah, they've been really supportive, and they are really excited that we're nearly there, and we're nearly launching.
That's cool. I love it. That's really good. So is obviously people can contact you through the website, the kategaleauthor.com, and you have a Facebook page as well.
I do. Also Kate Gale Author. And Instagram is also Kate Gale Author.
Great. Nice and easy. So we can follow your journey. And as we said before, that if you go to Kate's website, kategaleauthor.com, and sign up to her newsletter, you'll actually get a little sneak peek of the book. I'm enjoying myself. Just like, so that you can read a little bit of the book and get excited and get all primed and ready to go for when the book comes out at the end of the year. So thank you so much for joining me, Kate, and it was lovely as always.
Thanks for having me, Pip. It's been awesome.
No worries. I'll see you very soon, and thanks everybody for watching, and we'll see you again for the next author series interview. Bye for now.